Step back in time to Cheers, the legendary sitcom that brought laughter and warmth to millions of viewers. For over a decade, its cast became an integral part of television history, forging an unbreakable bond with audiences worldwide. Yet, behind the dazzling lights of Hollywood lay heartbreaking realities, cruel twists of fate, devastating illnesses, and tragic accidents that led to sorrowful endings. In this exploration, we delve into the untold stories of their lives, uncovering the struggles they endured and the heartbreaking circumstances of their passing. Join us as we honor the legacy of these talented actors who made Cheers an enduring classic, celebrating the joy and laughter they gifted to generations of fans. Kirstie Alley was born in 1951, a force of nature whose arrival on Cheers in 1987 changed the dynamic of the show forever. As Rebecca Howe, the strong-willed yet hopelessly romantic bar manager, she brought a new energy to the series, seamlessly stepping in after Shelley Long's departure. Her chemistry with Ted Dansen's Sam Malone electrified audiences, and she quickly became one of the most beloved characters of the show's later seasons. Alley's career flourished beyond Cheers, with hits like Look Who's Talking, Veronica's Closet, and Drop Dead Gorgeous, proving that she was more than just a sitcom actress. But behind the infectious laugh and the dazzling blue eyes, Kirstie Alley's personal life was a storm of heartbreak and struggles. She battled with weight fluctuations that played out in the public eye, facing relentless scrutiny from tabloids that took cruel pleasure in documenting her ups and downs. Her marriages, first to Bob Alley and later to Parker Stevenson, ended in divorce, leaving her searching for stability that often seemed just out of reach. She longed for a lasting love story, but found herself trapped in cycles of heartbreak and self-doubt. Alley's later years were marked by increasing isolation. Her outspoken political views and controversial statements alienated some of her longtime fans, while her deep involvement in Scientology led to whispers and speculation. But none of these controversies could prepare the world for the tragic news in December 2022, her sudden and devastating battle with colon cancer. The disease was aggressive, and by the time it was publicly revealed, it was already too late. She passed away at the age of 71, leaving Hollywood stunned. The woman who had once commanded the screen with her bold presence and wicked sense of humor was gone, leaving behind a complicated legacy of brilliance, struggle, and an undeniable impact on television history. Harry Anderson, born in 1952, was a man of magic, wit, and charm, best known to Cheers fans as Harry the Hat, the slick conman who always had a trick up his sleeve. Beyond Cheers, he became a beloved television figure as the lead in Night Court, where his quick humor and boyish grin masked a deeply introspective soul. Behind the laughter, though, Harry struggled with a longing for simplicity and authenticity in a world that often felt artificial. After Hollywood lost its appeal, he retreated from the industry, moving to New Orleans to embrace a quieter life. But tragedy followed him. In the wake of Hurricane Katrina, his beloved magic shop and home were devastated, leaving him broken in ways far beyond financial loss. His later years were marked by declining health, isolation, and a sadness that never quite lifted. In 2018, he was found dead in his home at the age of 65, the official cause being a stroke. But for those who knew him, the real tragedy was that a man who brought so much joy to others had spent his final years in loneliness. His once vibrant spirit faded into memory. Philip Pearlman was born in 1919, a man who spent much of his life on the periphery of Hollywood before finally becoming a recognizable face in the beloved sitcom Cheers. His role as Phil, the office worker and bar regular, was small but steady, spanning 163 episodes from 1986 to 1993. Though he rarely had speaking lines, his mere presence added to the charm of the show, giving the fictional bar an authentic, lived-in feel. However, Philip's career in the entertainment industry was not one of immediate success. For many years, he worked as a businessman and only transitioned into acting later in life, inspired by his daughter, Rhea Perlman, who rose to fame as Carla Tortelli on Cheers. While Rhea became a household name, Philip remained in the background, often overshadowed by his daughter's stardom. Despite his success on Cheers, his personal life was filled with quiet struggles. Though he lived a long life, time eventually wore him down, and he spent his final years in increasing frailty, far removed from the bustling energy of the set where he had once spent his happiest days. He passed away in 2015 at the age of 95. The world of television barely took notice, and his passing, much like his career, was quiet and unassuming. Though his name was never in flashing lights, those who knew him, on and off the screen, remembered him as a kind, steady presence whose contributions to Hollywood, however modest, were never forgotten. Jay Thomas, born in 1948, was a charismatic actor and comedian known for his portrayal of Eddie LeBec, the charming yet unlucky hockey player who won Carla Tortelli's heart in Cheers. Off-screen, Jay had a career that spanned television and film, including roles in Murphy Brown and Mr. Holland's Opus. However, despite his wit and success, his personal life was marked by hidden heartbreaks. Jay had an estranged relationship with his first son, whom he fathered in the 1970s and placed for adoption, a decision that haunted him for years. Professionally, his departure from Cheers was clouded by an offhand comment that reportedly offended series star Rhea Perlman, leading to his character's unceremonious demise in a Zamboni accident, an ironic and darkly comedic end for the fictional Eddie LeBec. In reality, Jay's own life took a tragic turn when he was diagnosed with throat cancer. The once booming voice that brought laughter to millions grew weak, and in 2017, he passed away at the age of 69, surrounded by his loved ones, but undoubtedly carrying the weight of the past. Frances Sternhigan, born in 1930, was the seasoned actress who played Esther Clavin, the overbearing mother of Cliff Clavin on Cheers. Her commanding presence and razor-sharp comedic timing made her a standout, even in limited appearances. Beyond Cheers, she was an acclaimed character actress with a vast career in theater, film, and television, gracing the screen in works like Misery and Sex and the City. Yet, behind her professional accolades, Frances endured the silent struggles of balancing her artistic ambitions with family life. She was married to fellow actor Thomas Carlin, with whom she had 6 children, a full house that, despite its joys, carried the unspoken burdens of a woman stretched thin between career and motherhood. When Carlin passed away in 1991, she was left with a void that no standing ovation could fill. As time went on, age crept in, and the once vibrant actress slowly faded from the public eye. The final curtain fell in 2023 when she died at the age of 93. Though she had lived a long and accomplished life, the industry moved on, leaving behind only fleeting memories of the formidable woman who once commanded the stage and screen. King Curtis, born in 1923, was the face of John Allen Hill, the snobbish and antagonistic owner of Melville's restaurant, which loomed over Cheers both literally and figuratively. His crisp delivery and sharp wit made him a perfect foil for the scrappy bar staff. But beyond the screen, Curtis carried a life full of silent disappointments. Though he found success on Broadway, even winning a Tony Award, the recognition he longed for in Hollywood was fleeting. His career was marked by supporting roles, his name rarely headlining a marquee. Behind his charming smile, loneliness crept in. Curtis never married, and the absence of a life partner cast a long shadow over his later years. His world grew quieter with age, his once booming voice softened by illness. The end came on October 13, 2002, as he succumbed to complications from Alzheimer's disease. A once brilliant mind, dulled by the merciless hands of time, fading away in a world that barely remembered the roles he played. Nicholas Kolasanto, born in 1924, was best known for his warm and lovable portrayal of Ernie Coach Pantusso, the kind-hearted, absent-minded bartender who became a fan favorite on Cheers. But behind his endearing on-screen presence was a man battling demons of his own. A decorated World War II veteran, Kolasanto found solace in acting, yet his career was riddled with struggles, missed opportunities, and a relentless war with alcoholism. He had once dreamed of becoming a priest, but life had other plans, dragging him into the chaotic world of Hollywood, where success came late and at a great cost. Years of heavy drinking had taken their toll, damaging his heart and leaving him frail. Though he managed to turn his life around in his final years, the damage had already been done. On February 12, 1985, his heart finally gave out in his home, alone, surrounded by memorabilia from his beloved role on Cheers. His death left an irreplaceable void in the series, and the cast mourned the loss of a man who had been a mentor and father figure to many. His final episode aired posthumously, a bittersweet farewell to a character who had brought so much joy while hiding so much pain. Eric Christmas, born in 1916, was a seasoned character actor with a career spanning decades, playing everything from strict authority figures to quirky oddballs. In Cheers, he appeared as Father Barry, a small but memorable role in a show filled with larger-than-life personalities. His true legacy, however, stretched beyond the bar, as he left his mark in films like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Harold and Maude. Despite his success, his personal life was far from picture-perfect. Though details of his private affairs remained largely out of the public eye, the struggles of aging in an industry that prioritizes youth weighed heavily on him. By the time the 1990s rolled in, roles became scarce, and the once familiar face slowly disappeared from screens. In 2000, at the age of 84, he passed away, the cause attributed to natural causes. Yet, for an actor whose voice once echoed in theaters and television sets, the silence left in his absence was deafening. The world moved on, as it always does, but those who remembered him knew that another bright light had quietly flickered out. Ted Dansen was born in 1947, a man whose charisma and effortless charm made him one of television's most beloved actors. He will forever be remembered as Sam Malone, the charming but deeply flawed former relief pitcher for the Boston Red Sox, who, after struggling with alcoholism, became the owner of Cheers, the bar where everyone knew your name. Sam's eternal on-again, off-again romance with Diane Chambers and later Rebecca Howe mirrored Dansen's own turbulent love life. Outside of Cheers, Dansen starred in Three Men and a Baby, 1987, Three Men and a Little Lady, 1990, and Saving Private Ryan, 1998, along with critically acclaimed television series like Becker, 1998 to 2004, and The Good Place, 2016 to 2020. But behind his success lay heartbreak. His first marriage to Randall Gosh ended in divorce, and his second marriage to producer Cassandra Casey Coates was marred by tragedy. In 1979, shortly after the birth of their daughter Kate, Coates suffered a devastating stroke, leaving her partially paralyzed. Dansen cared for her tirelessly, but the strain on their relationship was immense. Then came his scandalous affair with Whoopi Goldberg in the early 1990s, which led to an acrimonious and costly divorce, one of the most expensive in Hollywood history at the time. Though he later found happiness with actress Mary Steenburgen, one can't help but wonder if, like Sam Malone, he spent much of his life trying to outrun the weight of his own regrets. Roger Rees, born in 1944, captivated audiences as the charming yet unscrupulous millionaire Robin Colcord on Cheers, a man whose arrogance masked a desperate need for acceptance. But Rees was more than just a television actor. He was a gifted stage performer, celebrated for his Tony-winning role in the life and adventures of Nicholas Nickleby. Despite a successful career that spanned decades, his personal life was marked by struggle and an unrelenting pressure to prove himself. A private man, Rees found solace in his longtime partnership with playwright Rick Ellis, whom he married later in life. Theirs was a love story that endured despite the challenges of a world that often failed to accept them. But fate dealt Rees a cruel hand. In his final years, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, a relentless disease that robbed him of his energy and passion. As the illness advanced, he continued performing until his body could no longer endure the pain. On July 10, 2015, he passed away at the age of 71, leaving behind a legacy of brilliant performances and a partner who was left to grieve the loss of a man whose life was tragically cut short. Hugh Maguire, born in 1926, was a man who barely left a trace. His presence in Cheers as Hugh almost a ghostly footnote in a long career of small, often uncredited roles. His was the fate of many character actors, recognized but not remembered, essential but overlooked. A dedicated performer with a passion for the craft, Maguire toiled in the industry for decades, his name lost beneath the weight of more famous co-stars. His private life was just as unassuming, details scarce, relationships fleeting. In the twilight of his life, he drifted into obscurity, the world moving on without him. When he passed away on March 11, 2006, there was little fanfare, no grand tributes, just a quiet ending to a life spent in the background. a man who had been there, but never truly seen. Rhea Perlman was born in 1948, a woman of small stature but towering presence, whose sharp wit and fiery spirit made her unforgettable as Carla Tortelli, the brash, no-nonsense waitress who slung drinks and insults with equal skill at Cheers. As Carla, she was a mother of 8, a woman hardened by disappointment and heartbreak, who masked her pain with sarcasm and biting humor. In reality, Perlman's personal life was just as complex. She fell in love with fellow actor Danny DeVito in 1971, and together they became one of Hollywood's most enduring couples, at least on the surface. They married in 1982 and had 3 children, Lucy, Grace, and Jake, but their relationship was far from perfect. Decades of ups and downs took their toll, and in 2012, they announced their separation, only to reconcile in 2013 before splitting again in 2017. Though they never officially divorced, Pearlman has spoken openly about how they function better apart, a love story that never truly ended but transformed into something bittersweet. Outside of Cheers, she was a scene stealer in Matilda, 1996, where she played Mrs. Wormwood, the cruel, neglectful mother to the brilliant young protagonist. Despite her success, Hollywood never quite knew what to do with Pearlman after Cheers, and her career never reached the same heights again. But like Carla, she remained unbreakable, even as life handed her more disappointments than victories. John Ratzenberger, born on April 6, 1947, in Bridgeport, Connecticut, became a household name through his unforgettable role as Cliff Clavin, the loquacious and socially awkward mail carrier on Cheers. Cliff, a self-proclaimed expert on everything, was both lovable and insufferable, a character who made audiences laugh while also embodying the loneliness of a man desperate for validation. Before his rise to fame, Ratzenberger had small but notable roles in films such as Superman, 1978, and Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980, where he played a rebel officer. But despite his vast filmography, it was Cheers that defined his career. Yet, beyond the laughter and applause, Ratzenberger faced struggles that were far from the cheerful camaraderie of the Cheers bar. After the series ended in 1993, he found himself trapped by his own success, forever seen as Cliff, unable to escape the shadow of the character that had made him famous. The typecasting was relentless, and Hollywood doors that had once opened so easily now seemed closed to him. Though he later reinvented himself as a sought-after voice actor, lending his voice to Pixar films such as Toy Story as Ham the Piggy Bank and Cars as Mac the Truck, the transition was not without hardship. The pain of being overlooked for serious on-screen roles weighed on him heavily. His personal life was no less turbulent. He endured 2 failed marriages, leaving behind broken relationships that deeply affected him. The pressures of fame had created distance between him and his loved ones, and though he eventually remarried, the scars of his past relationships lingered. His children, caught in the whirlwind of his career and personal turmoil, experienced a father who was often absent, struggling with his own demons. What do you think about the deaths of the actors from Cheers, and who do you miss the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos.